Hey everybody, welcome back to Pretending with Dice. AJ here, as always. A bit of a different episode for you this time around. We were originally planning to put out the next chapter of our Things from the Flood story, but we've decided to push that back by another 2 weeks to put out what we've got for you today. Some of you may know that this past weekend we were up in London at Dragonmeet, the convention, for our third year there as part of the podcast zone. We had an amazing time, got to meet a whole bunch of really cool people. So what I thought we'd do is get a bunch of those people on the podcast today for you. Just kind of share some of our experiences at the convention, just, what our favourite things were, how it was, all that kind of stuff, and just, kind of keep the conversation going. So that's what you're about to hear, hopefully. These conversations are going to be split kind of in two. I had so many people want to talk to me that we had to do it in a couple of sessions. So I'll pop back in the middle just to introduce the next group. But yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into this first group conversation. I hope you enjoy the episode. Okay, so we've got our sort of first group of attendees who've agreed to chat with me. Why don't each of you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Dragon from Penance RPG. I'm kind of second in command and general minion.
People may also have heard you recently on Pretending with Dice playing Hazel in our Things from the Flood story as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And next up we have Anjuli.
Hello, I am Anjuli, Geek Girl Bookworm, Dungeon Master 4 of Dice and Pen, and miniature painter extraordinaire, she says about herself.
Awesome. And next up we have Jordan.
Hi, I'm Jordan of Modified Rule. I do all the editing and social media for that, as well as being a player, and I also currently have half a voice, so this is going to be fun.
Spent the weekend shouting at people.
I spent most of last week shouting at people, not just the weekend.
And finally in this group we have Nikoli.
Hello, I am Nikoli. I am the DM for Penance, and I'm the sort of general dog's body for Penance as well, that does pretty much everything else that isn't stuff Dragon does.
Awesome. So yeah, we're all fresh back from Dragonmeet. I know I got back last night. I mean, how was everybody's weekend? Let's start with a bit of a softball question, I suppose.
It was good.
It was fun, but it was long.
Apart from only sleeping for a combined 3.5 hours across the entire weekend from when I got there on Friday night till when I got home at 12:30, basically this morning, it was fine.
Yeah.
Sleeping for 22 minutes going into Dragonmeet itself was not a good night. The bed I had at the hotel was fucking horrible.
You did look tired. I will say I did sleep slightly more than you, but having travelled straight to Dragonmeet to help set up our podcast sponsor stall, having come from my work's Christmas do the night before, I was just very physically tired all weekend.
Well, I made the mistake of drinking too much on the Friday. So Saturday, I was really tired.
Well, I think we had a couple of drinks in the bar on the Friday night.
Yeah.
I was there till 2:30 in the morning.
I think I was in bed before that.
Yeah.
I think we finished recording the night before about midnight, so by the time we got back to the hotel, I think we got to bed around 1, but just couldn't sleep with the bed.
Yeah, we recorded in my room, and I think I was getting to the point where I was just like, I'm pretty tired now as well. Can you guys just leave me so I can go to bed? But I felt really bad when we all got up on the Saturday morning, because you turned up and you were like, I've had an hour's sleep, or I've had 20 minutes sleep or something, because I've had some trouble sleeping recently, and that Friday night was like the best night's sleep I'd had in like a week and a half, and then you turned up on my door to pick up your laptop going like, I'm dying. And
I turned up at your door, literally sat down in your bed, went, already I'm far too comfortable.
Yeah. But so I was trying not to I didn't want to be rubbing in just how well slept I was.
It's fine, I have insomnia anyway, it's fine.
Look, same. It was just, I don't know, I guess switching to a hotel bed just really was, my brain was like, oh, what do we do now? Okay, this feels like a bed. Sure. But in general, I had a really great weekend. I think, this is our third year. It's my third year doing it. I get Penance as well. It's your third year.
Yes, it's third year I've been there. It's the second year Dragon's been there.
Yeah. And
My first year with the podcast zone, but my third year there.
were you running a store previous years, or just kind of attending, or
Just kind of attending, always attending. But yeah, I don't
remember
have.
meeting you in your first year there.
Yeah, I was wearing exactly the same outfit as I was wearing this year and the year before, and
Oh, I saw you tweeting about that.
yeah, it's because I remember the first time I walked through and the podcast zone was like right there, and then I was there for 3 hours, and everyone's like, "What else have you seen of the show?" It's like nothing. I literally walked through the door. Been here so long.
I feel like this year was like crazy busy at the podcast zone, but like the first year was sort of so close to the entrance that it just felt like it was just chaos for the whole day, really, because anybody walking in was just like immediately like right in your face, like, "Hey, take up flyers for podcasts. Do you like podcasts?" and stuff. And there's people trying to take their coats off and going like, "Wait, what is this now?" and everything. So it was a bit of a change of gears and everything into the second year and that. Yeah, Jordan, this was your first year. How did you how did you find it? Just in general terms, I know, like you said, you're helping D and Dice out.
This is my first year as just attending in general, and I went straight in as like a podcast, representing our podcast and part of the podcast zone. Although saying that, if you ask Mira Manga, she assumes I've been there since the beginning. She genuinely had no idea it was my first year there.
I feel like you dived like straight head first in, and were like, you were on your feet most of the day, weren't you? Like,
I was afraid if I sat down, I would fall asleep. I'm one of these people when there's an event like this, and there's like any sort of somebody goes, "Oh, I need help organizing this." I'm the first person to go, "Yeah, whatever, I'll help."
I used to be like that before I broke my back.
I'm so glad that you told me about the extra tables, though.
Yeah, well, that was actually because, like I said, I travelled down with our sponsor. I think Europe, like Penance's sponsor as well, our lovely DN Dice. And part of the arrangement was because Grady's now living in the same town as me. He's in Loughborough now with his unit. So I've helped him out a couple of things recently. The deal was I help him come down, set up the stall, and he puts me up in a room for the night. And I get the joy of travelling down in the van with him.
I mean, that's a pretty good deal, really.
I saw your photo. Your photo was fantastic.
Yeah, it was very tight. But so I went down, and I should point out, if you've seen the D&D Dice stall before, if you haven't seen the D&D Dice stall before, he's put a load of effort into making it up to look like a tavern room.
Yeah,
it's very good looking. What you don't see is that some of the bits in there are like solid steel frame.
Oh, no.
So trying to carry some of the bits of that in and set it up, excuse my French, but it's a complete fucking nightmare.
I imagine so, yeah.
So, yeah, the more hands he has setting up, the faster he gets it done. But, adding that to my exhaustion from the work night out the night before, I turned up on Saturday if I had sat down for more than 10 minutes, I think I would have fallen asleep.
I briefly kind of spoke to you we were chatting throughout the day, but like when I was going around filming stuff for the vlog, and like I kind of cut down what we were, our short vlog conversation. Yeah,
I finally got around to watching the full thing, and I remember we talked for a couple of minutes, and the one thing you put in is like, "It's kind of loud in here." Yeah, but it's quiet enough that we can hear each other speak, and then cut away.
Well, the reason that was the one bit that made it to the vlog was because it was so loud in there that was the only bit that we filmed that was actually audible. The rest of it was like a lot of crowd noise, and then it just briefly goes down enough for us to go like, "Yeah, at least we can hear ourselves."
The irony.
Yeah,
I think it would have been better to keep the whole clip in and just have that bit in the middle.
I mean, I've still got the file. I might reuse it just for irony's sake.
Yeah, just the irony of that. I was like, crowd noises. At least we can hear ourselves. Crowd noises.
Yeah, I think I got every year, listeners might know, every year so far I've been there, I film like a kind of vlog type thing, just shoved it up on my YouTube. But it's become a little bit of a tradition at this point now. I always feel like it feels really good on the day what I'm filming. Like, yeah, I got a lot of good stuff. I get back to my computer at home, and like half the footage is out of focus, and half of the audio is completely like unusable. And yeah, I'm not good at what I do, but it's fine.
You are. It's just exceptionally busy and noisy at Dragon. Always.
I was really conscious that this year I either should have brought my tripod or I should have brought my Steadicam rig, because so much of it is just like shaky hand where I'm just like, my arm is just like, look, are we going to be done soon? I'm about to fall apart. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember the Pringles can, yeah.
Hey, it worked really well.
right up until we immediately got interrupted by somebody going like, "Hey, can I take your photo with that instead?" But, yeah, it's fine. Shifting gears then. So Angela, you were running a stream out of one of the rooms. Sort of like a painting. Was it like a tutorial? I didn't get a chance to actually watch it or anything.
So I was, because I have a Twitch stream that I do throughout the week for miniature painting, and I have various things that I get on with. But Dan, who runs Atlantis Miniatures, is a good friend of mine, and he gave me a whole load of miniatures. So I thought I would put them out for everyone and just invite people to come in and like try their hand at painting a miniature.
Awesome.
And I had Kat with me, sort of working with her, doing like a sort of painting lesson, like on the stream. And then every once in a while, I'd move the camera around so everyone could see everyone else that was hanging out. It was just meant to be like an open room where people could come in, they could chat about miniatures and Dragonmeet and RPGs in general, and everyone could just like have a chat. It wasn't meant to be like a quiet sort of live stream thing. I wanted it to be quite bubbly and energetic, and it was. And people who'd never painted before came in, and people who had done some painting but never on like like Dan's miniatures are very detailed. And so they'd never had like a really detailed miniature before. So everyone got to play with those. And the army painter sponsored it. So they sent me a whole load of brushes and paints and things as well.
Oh, awesome.
So I didn't have to go out of pocket for it. It was really nice of them. And it was just a lot of fun. Just everyone just sitting around and chatting. And it was very nice. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna see if maybe next year I can do actual painting lessons at Dragonmeet.
That would be really cool. Yeah, just kind of make a bit more interaction with the public, sort of thing. Yeah,
just do like actual paint along sessions where everyone gets to say mini, and maybe I put something up, like a screen or something, and everyone can follow along and paint together.
I'd love that. Let's be fair, for that to work for me, I need to get somebody else from our podcast to actually come with me. So I can leave them on the stall. But I haven't painted a mini since I was like 15, I think.
Yeah, I've a bit of a misspent youth where Games Workshop took way too much of my money.
I think that's probably the one good thing about not getting too deep into them. But I did do the Lord of the Rings tabletop bit for a brief while. Yeah, and I remember the pure joy of painting a legible white hand on an Urukai's face and thinking that actually looks like a hand.
Yeah.
The rest of it.
I've only been doing it for a year, so I'm really new to the miniature painting stuff.
Oh, fair enough.
And
I've never painted one.
Oh,
I used to paint minis when I was
next time you're teaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe we've just been joined last minute by Ian from Dragon Wings.
Yes.
Hello. Sorry, I just snuck in.
It's all good.
I'm afraid the doors are closed at this point. We're going to have to escort you back out.
I'll see you later.
Security.
Bye.
How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, very good. It's funny you're talking about the miniatures, because actually Harry and Tom from our podcast joined and absolutely loved it, and I was really jealous that I didn't get stuck in myself. Harry in particular had a wonderfully painted cape on his miniature.
Ooh. Oh, lovely.
I think wonderfully painted.
Was I stood there with you when they came out with it? I think I might have been.
Yeah, it was fun to have them there. They were very good, the two of them, just sitting there and chatting and keeping the conversation going when I was concentrating on trying to put this bloody tartan on the back of this tape. Like, someone else talk, I can't. I'm trying to draw straight lines.
When will they develop tartan paint?
But it's funny you mentioned the Lord of the Rings ones, actually, because I do have my Fellowship ones on my desk to the left of me from way back in the day. I painted when I was like 11 or 12.
I wish I'd kept mine. I made the mistake of taking them in because my school had a tabletop club. But this was back before I was really into them. And I had just bought the Riders of Rohan set. And I had like some of the Fellowship, and I had that the magazine that was out at the time. You would collect, you got like Aragorn and all the Fellowship, and you got like a set of goblins, a set of elves. Yeah. And I tried to take them all into school, but I didn't have a proper carry case. So every single one of my Riders of Rohan horses broke their legs.
That's a real shame.
So I got to play them exactly once.
Yeah. I every so often look on eBay to just see, like, the Fellowship miniatures I've got are great, but like it's been nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
Can I somehow rustle up like a fresh set and give it another go? sort of thing.
But actually, funnily enough, one of our players, Dave, the DM's dad, has a 3D printer, and he said if we each got paid for like a Hero Forge mini file, he would print us all off set. So now each of us have a little set of printed minis of our party.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
None of us know how to paint minis, so they're all just kind of stats on our desks.
I do commissions.
That's the one thing I want to sit down at some point and take the time to paint them all. But it's like, of all the things I'm doing currently, that's way down the priority list.
Yeah.
Our bloody finale episode was meant to go out 2 weeks ago.
That's fine. It's only 2 weeks behind.
None of the minis on my table are ever painted because I do not have time to paint for myself.
Well, that's a good problem to have, though, I suppose.
Just, it makes me sad though when I put out a miniature and it's like, oh, it's not painted. I'm sorry, guys, you're not important enough.
But one day I will get to this. Yeah. Okay, so I think we should. Maybe we should each talk about what one of our highlights of the weekend was.
I'm going to jump in first just because I have one.
Go for it.
That is very selfish, but was not just the highlight of my weekend, but like the highlight of my podcasting career for the last year. I met somebody who listens to our podcast completely unprompted by one of the players.
Yep.
Someone came up to me. I was chatting to them. I kind of assuming everyone else at this convention has never heard of us before. And I start trying to pitch the podcast to him, and he goes, "Oh no, I'm already listening. I'm like one episode behind being updated because I haven't had time recently." And I was just struck dumb. I was like, "You actually listen to our shit? Why have you stuck around this long?"
That's always great. I mean, I feel like maybe on our first or second, I didn't have anybody this year be like, "Yeah, I already listened," other than other people in the podcast zone who had said "Oh yeah, no, I listened to a bit of everybody," or Dragon, you're on the podcast at the moment, so I would hope you would listen. No pressure. So I mean, it is great when you get a listener coming up and just it feels like you're not just shouting into the void kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I had anyone that said they listened to us this year, apart from the same guy who listened to you guys. But previous years, I've had one or two people come up, but in previous years, usually it's like, "What do you do?" And you say, "Oh yeah, we do homebrew," and they immediately lose interest in you. This year, there wasn't as much of that.
No, I had a couple of people actually say I prefer the homebrew stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that are really into it. But previous years, when you said that to people, they've just sort of, you can see them just kind of go, "Oh, well, maybe I'll try one of the other ones." But this year, there's a lot of people actually more engaged by it.
It's like, what do you mean? You make up your role-playing game? How weird.
Believe me, there was one guy last year who literally just picked up a flyer and went, "So what do you do?" "Oh, we do adaptations." "Oh, so you've adapted Curse of Strahd?" "Yeah." "All right, okay. So you 5e?" "No, we're homebrew." And he just put our flyer back down.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had someone come up to me and be like, "Oh, are you the DM from Of Dice and Pen?" And we've only had 2 episodes. And I was like, "Yes." I'm already recognised for, but that's very exciting for me.
You never know how people are going to find out about you, though.
No. Because I had my Mimic Howl, and she was like, "Is that Fifi, who's the Mimic NPC that was tamed in episode 1? And I was like, "Yep, that's Fifi." And it was very exciting.
Early adopters of the show.
I had a couple of people go, "Oh yeah, I'm already subscribed to you guys."
Oh yeah, a lot of people really happily tell us that I don't listen to you, but I have your bag.
Brand awareness is something we can do.
Yeah. I think as far as sort of the good points this year was, I think everyone that we recorded with last year that was guests found time to come back and find us this year and ask how we're doing. That was something really big, which was like RPG Kitchen, Nino from London, I think it's London RP Society.
London RPG Community or something, I think.
So I can never remember his name. It's Phobos or Phobos or something like that from Hercules Game Studios. I can never remember his name. Him and also Antoine from Crooked Tower all came to see us this year, which was really cool because we only just met them all last year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I said hi to all of them actually. Yeah, because I saw them. Yeah, I did. Yeah, sorry, my memory isn't what it once was.
There was a lot of people.
Yeah.
We all spoke to an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
Most of them not for very long each. So it was just a bit. By the end of it, everyone's kind of starts blurring into one person.
Yes, we met that one Dragonmeet public. Yeah.
Yes, that.
I'd love to see what that looks like. visually.
Well, however they look, they've got a lot of dice. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do. And actually, the dice giveaways seem to be really popular.
I was going to say, yeah, you guys were... Well, do you want to explain what you were doing over the whole day in terms of the contest?
So the Penance dice giveaway was everyone had 60 seconds to draw a creature, monster, real animal, whatever you like. And then we, at 5:30, stopped the entries and went through them and picked out the one that spoke most to us, which was really good. I've not counted the entries. There's got to be at least 150.
I would
there's a
imagine
fair
so,
whack.
yeah.
I've got them sitting in my bag next door. I need to count them all.
There's so many.
It was the whole day. People were, there was pretty much non-stop drawing going on.
Yeah. So we had 2 egg timers, so 2 people could be competing at once. And we had googly eyes that they could put on after the 1 minute was up, because they're really slow to do.
Yeah.
I think we will try and make sure there's more big googly eyes next year, because it just ended up that all the big size ones went really quickly, and then it was just watching people scream abuse at the small googly eyes trying to get the backs off them.
I mean, those tiny ones were, they were hard going.
Yeah.
Oh, they really were.
They were so difficult. But we also had multicoloured ones, which was quite good.
The red ones went ridiculously fast. All the rest kind of went quite fast, but the red ones went immediately.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to buy more red ones then. That's fine.
Well, we've recorded you saying that now, so now people can hold you to account on the googly eyes front. That minute went so fast though while drawing. I mean, cause I did my traditional I'll have a go, but they'll never give me the prize because technically I'm on the podcast and I can't win. I was like, I'll have a go. I've got a weird alien in mind, and I drew the head, and next to me I've got Greg going, "You got 5 seconds, AJ," and I go, "Wait, hold on, wait, what?"
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just quickly draw some shoulders, and it looked like a weird kind of head plant thing, and I was like, okay, here you go, here's my entry, sort of thing. Like a small child could come along and immediately draw something better than what I did. But
we had a lot of small children come along. It was weird.
We did have quite a few kids enter, actually.
Yeah, most kids that we've ever had enter on our contest.
That's mostly because our stuff isn't particularly family friendly.
Yeah.
So the dice were donated by our sponsor, D&Dice. As they were also for Modified Roll. I'll pass over to Jordan.
That's fine. Our competition was much less interesting. We were just a general sign up and we'll do a prize draw at the end of the day. Although I did set up a bunch of my DN dice collection with all the D20s, and anyone who entered got to roll a D20, and anyone who rolled a natural 20 got their entry doubled. And probably, I like to say surprisingly, but probably not so surprisingly, based on the statistics, we ended up actually managing to keep a roughly 1 in 20 in terms of entries versus natural 20s. It actually worked out really well, but we had just over 250 entries.
Oh.
Yeah, to be fair, ours took literally seconds to sign up for. So
at least we know your dice aren't loaded now.
Exactly.
The number of folks came up to us and said, "What do you do?" "Oh, we have to draw." "Oh, I can't draw." "Oh, everyone can draw." No, I can't draw." "Well, you can enter that one over there. You don't have to draw anything." Brilliant. And just left.
Yeah.
People were coming over to me and saying, it's like, "Oh, do you not have to draw for this one?" It's like, "No, you don't have to. But you should have a go there." I was like, "No, I don't draw." I was like, "Have you seen the entries? Nobody can draw."
Yeah. So for future, I think a couple of us are going to need to draw example ones to show people, because people were like, "Oh, I can't draw," and it's like, neither can most of the people that have entered.
Have to draw one for next year, so we can.
But you can't show someone else's drawing.
Yeah, I had so many people say, "It's like, oh, the best I can do is stickmen." I was like, "I have seen a lot of stickmen today. It's fine."
Yes, there were a lot of stickmen.
There's a lot
there
of
were a lot of beholders.
Weird things.
We had googly eyes. So of course, there was a lot of beholders.
Yeah.
And gelatinous cubes.
I don't think I saw anybody do a gelatinous cube. I mean, I wasn't watching all of them, but I definitely saw 2 or 3 beholders. But
the guy who was running, I'm so bad at names, but the guy who was running around from RPG Kitchen.
Oh yeah,
he was wearing the gelatinous cube hoodie, and he drew a very similar gelatinous cube for his.
He was actually holding the hoodie up, trying to look at it while he was drawing as well.
It was very good. I quite enjoyed that one.
It's very tough to trace something that's on your chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone who didn't see it, the RPG Kitchen rep who was there for the day, the gelatinous Adam, that's the one.
He did. He's done gaming with us for this year and did last year as well.
Oh,
He's. I just love his love the charity he's won for. So yeah,
it is fantastic. It's something I want to help support a bit more this year. But he was wearing one of the RPG Kitchen hoodies, which is a gelatinous cube full of food, full of hamburgers and chicken legs and stuff. So he was
the least deadly gelatinous cube.
How do you say that until you fall in?
Well, that's true. I like it. I don't have the organizational capacity to run a competition, so this isn't the first year. You guys ran was it a drawing one last year? I feel like we were drawing monsters last year.
Yeah.
There was, yes. We had little bits of card drawing last year rather than a sketchbook because we were like, we'll just get a bit of card and see if anyone wants to draw, because we like the idea of, if we do a minute, then people don't really have unlike last year we just said draw, and we had folk who were there for 20 minutes being really perfectionist.
Yeah.
So we were like, how would we just make it, hardline it and make it 1 minute, get some sand timers, make a real challenge out of it, because the shorter time you do, the more, it doesn't matter how skilled you are, it can still turn up horrible.
Yeah, it levels the playing field quite a lot.
Yeah.
But last year's competition was, we were going to do something with this, weren't we? Crap. Right. Okay, we'll just do this for the rest of the day. And then this year was actually prepared for in advance.
I feel like this year's one kind of works better with how the sort of the setup of where the podcast zone was, though, because you kind of didn't really want people hanging around for 20 minutes there just because of
that would just be impossible.
Yeah, all of the foot traffic and space and everything. Whereas last year, where we were a bit more sedate, would you say?
Yeah.
In terms of
last year,
passing.
we tended to get people looking at us from about 20 meters away, like, who are you? Whereas this year, they tend to be about maybe 5 meters away asking who are you, so it's a bit easier to draw them in.
I think the location being between the two floors really helped, because it had a lot of people who were just coming through, and they weren't necessarily blocking people from moving, but if they came through, they could stop and have a look, or they could move on. So we had a constant thoroughfare of people, but you weren't swamped with people just sort of standing around doing nothing.
For sure. Yeah.
Saying that, I had any number of people as I'm yelling out to them, would you like to win a free set of gold dice? Look at me and go, nah.
The number of times you were enthusiastically shouting gold, and they people just look at you like, no.
Yeah, I generally have people come up to me and I'm showing them the dice in front of me, and they say, what's the competition? It's like, all you have to do is write down your name and a way to contact you. We will delete everything at the end of the day. We will destroy this paperwork, and you could win a set of 24-karat gold dice. And they go, I swear, I had 5 different people say to me, that's all right, I've got enough dice, and then walk away.
I know. I've got a feeling that people didn't believe us, that they were actually 24-karat gold plated.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other reason why they wouldn't have.
I mean, I understand that some people get really iffy about keeping information.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have a mailing list. I hate the idea of mailing lists. I'm not going to email you and say, listen to our podcast, because the chances are you won't. And everyone's information has already been shredded.
Yeah. The thing is that they had to then leave contact information with ours anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think there was I don't remember anyone doing ours and then not doing yours. But seriously, all I can think is that people didn't believe or didn't understand that these were actually gold.
Yeah.
There were some people who I saw leaving and didn't do yours, and I said, you can do this one as well, and they went, no, I've entered one of them, that's enough.
Yeah. I think a lot of people after we explained it to a couple of people, a lot of them did think we were giving away the same set of dice, like it was going to be between the two competitions. We're like, no, we have 2 completely separate sets of gold dice.
Maybe they just really like they're like this. It's not worth it to me unless I'm gambling on really long odds on this.
It could be that.
Yeah.
Just because we haven't heard from him yet, what was Ian's highlight?
Oh, I'm just enjoying listening to. I mean, it's very telling of we're so new on the scene, and it was just so excellent for us to meet everybody. And it was the first time that we've been to Dragonmeet, least of all the podcast zone. I mean, we definitely maybe it's easier than being less invested for me to kick off being a feedback form. We thought it was really, really good, and I think we came with. I'm not sure I can't even think what my expectations were at the time, but I know that we all came away from it thinking it was really fun. Everyone was really friendly in terms of being behind and near the table. and also all the people at the con were really friendly. I think if there was one kind of formative thing that we all sort of thought and said at more or less the same time in the pub afterwards, it was that we didn't know what to expect in terms of the setup. Like would we have a lot of space individually, or would we be in a room with lots of tables, or would we all be in one section? And it was difficult for us, having never been as well, to kind of know exactly how to prepare. So we kind of came thinking, let's just dip our toe in with no expectations in terms of what we want to do as a podcast, and more kind of try and get to know the community and enjoy the day.
And that's probably a good way to go about it. I mean, I think I was in a similar situation to you the first year I went, because I mean, we got invited by Callum of the Relistas. I think it can't have been any later than sort of June, July, like August at the absolute latest of the first year we were doing it, and we didn't start putting out episodes till May. So it was a similar sort of thing. We hadn't been running very long. I had no idea what to expect. I think by the time it rolled around, I'd started talking to you, Nikoli, and I think I'd spoken to you, Dragon, before then, but you didn't come that first year.
Yeah.
And I just remember us getting an email at the Blue saying, "Hi, would you like to come to London?" And I'm just sitting there like, I live in Glasgow. I don't know if I really want to jump on a train and go all the way down. And I think it was only like a month before I decided, you know what, I'm going. Mainly because I accidentally signed up to be running a game there that I hadn't realised I had been.
Yeah. But I mean, my point was that like, going into it, at that point, I didn't, we were so new to the community, I didn't really know any other podcasts who were sort of doing it at all. I think I'd spoken to, Nikoli, this guy Thane, who ran a Star Wars podcast, a Star Wars RPG podcast from America, just in general, kind of like speaking to people in the tabletop RPG podcast community sort of thing. But he was, it was no way he was coming to that. But other than that, until we sort of all started, there was a few of us, we were going to do this thing called the D20 Summit, which was kind of similar to this conversation now, except a little bit, sort of people from different podcasts talking about sort of running podcasts sort of thing. But until I actually came to Dragonmeet, I hadn't met anybody else who was doing it. So it was kind of interesting to sort of turn up on the day and be like, oh, hey, other people, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully we gave you a good welcome into the.
Oh, we loved it. We just couldn't stop, and we haven't stopped talking about it since. I think I'm sure everybody does, but we've got our WhatsApp group, and we've just been back and forthing with which pictures we're going to put up on the social medias, and just laughing and sharing at the ones that we took anyway, reminiscing about all the fun moments, and we all had lots of them. It was just really good. Yeah, really, really good. A long day because we were there like everyone else right from the get-go. Least of all because some of us were DMing in the morning. But we were made to feel very, very welcome.
I think your badges went down quite well as well with people who came to see the podcast soon.
Yeah, right. Well, again, we just didn't know like what maybe business cards, maybe badges was the best we could come up with.
People like badges, man.
People like badges. Yeah. People like badges, and people disbelieve God dice. Is my big takeaway. Yeah,
that's the one takeaway from this. I'm still gutted that I forgot. I had like 3 whole like unused sheets of Pretending with Dice stickers that I actually had printed out on the first year, brought them that first year, forgot them last year, and
it wasn't the same set, was it?
It was the same set.
Oh, God.
I forgot them last year, and then this year I specifically got them out to be like, right, I'm going to bring them. And then I left my house on Friday, and then as we were setting up on Saturday, I sat down and went, my stickers are on my desk at home, nearly 200 miles away. I don't think I can get anybody to bring them to me today. So, yeah.
I was a bit miffed because I didn't realize how long it takes to print stickers. So we commissioned new art. We had our stickers sent off to have them made. I got the confirmation the order had been placed. I was like, we'll have them to you in 3 to 4 weeks. This was a week before Dragonmeet.
That's a long wait time.
Yeah, that was irritating after spending all the money on art. But no, I guess we can just give them to our actual listeners and not just people we hope will listen.
At least you know they'll be quality when you get them through, though.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to those. I'll stick a few on my PC tower whenever I get them.
Put them in people's Christmas presents.
That's the thing. Those of you who were near me on the day at Dragonmeet will know that I am like painfully honest about our podcast. I do not tell any of my friends and or family to listen to our podcast. In fact, when my friends ask me, what's your podcast about? I say, stupid nerd shit, you should not listen to it.
I remember the first trailer I heard from your podcast was "We Go to Taverns," and then there was a sound of you scrolling through pages and said, "Yes, taverns."
Yeah, I think I end that trailer with "Modified Role, a perfectly adequate podcast." That's it. Passably adequate podcast. Bearing in mind, I'm the guy who runs the fucking social media for our podcast. I am not the best at promoting it.
Look, I know that feel, man. It's
AJ, we were lamenting this a lot together.
Yeah, look, some of us are editors and whatnot, and are not so great at being like, hey, look at our stuff. But we've also been burdened with being the guy who has to be like, hey, look at our stuff. And it just,
as someone who gets very frequent, hey, listen to our stuff, but please don't listen to X, Z, Q, R, or S. Just listen to the rest.
Yeah.
without being able usually to tell people this.
Right.
I know exactly your pain.
I think towards the end of the day, I kind of got my like internal script sort of sorted as to what I was like having to say to people who I was talking to. But I feel like at the beginning of the day, it was more just like, hey, if you're picking up flyers, take this one as well.
Well, it took us an hour to rewire Bellry to say the right thing.
It did.
I mean, he spent the first 3 hours of the morning calling me Jason, so... And literally
he was
telling
really
people,
embarrassed by that.
Literally telling people, go speak to Jason of Modified Role, and I didn't hear him say this for 3 hours, at which point I turned around and was like, are you telling people my name is Jason? And he leant forward and read my sticker and went, ah, shit.
Yep.
I feel like there was a lot of mistaken identity going on the weekend.
What, you mean the fact that people kept assuming you were me?
Yeah. Like people who know us as well, which is weird. But like,
AJ's the big hairy one that doesn't have big pink ears.
Yeah, and then you took your ears off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But any kind of like final thoughts they want to add?
My final thought is, I would like to be asked to be on a panel next year. This is my third year and no one's asked me to talk shit. I would like to talk shit on a panel, please. Next year, invite me. I will gladly talk about all sorts of nonsense. I am very knowledgeable in nonsense, and I would like to talk nonsense.
If for any reason we're doing a panel, we will gladly have you on.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The one thing I would love to see next year, and I said this to Mira, the one thing I would love to see is a stage like performance of an actual play. I don't even have
Yes, I said that as well.
I just want to go and watch it because they get those all the fucking time in the States. Everyone has their own live performance.
Put my hand up.
I want some here.
I'll DM it.
Does that count as your panel?
Yes, that'll do it. I'll do that. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, either of them is completely fine.
Can we just ban Bellry from it now?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes without saying, especially after the
Bellry.
accent work he was doing on Saturday night.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. With Mira giving a few of us each one of the like adventures to run, like each of us to run individually, I kind of want Bellry in mind.
That's fine.
It was
just message him on here. It's fine.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it to him before I left. Just listening to him struggle to find it. Bear in mind, I joked about this at the time as well. He did struggle for most of the session to find an Australian accent. I'm Northern Irish. It took me 20 minutes to find Irish.
Yep. The whole thing about the game on Saturday night was literally a fever dream. When I edit it, I'm going to be feeling exactly the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard so much about these recordings.
Yeah, they. I will freely admit to ruining the Friday night one.
Nonsense! You don't ruin games. Wish.
Let me just, in a non-spoiler way, say we played a game where we're all cats, and I played a car.
Yes.
That's quite a spoiler.
Yep. There was one point.
Games don't have spoilers. It's fine.
That's true.
I was going to say there's one point when, but I was like, no, you know what? I'll keep that till before it goes. And it's going live this Saturday. So Sunday. So,
however, that game, which is called Alcatraz, is available on our website.
Yep, it's a
and if
completely
anyone wants
game
to record it and release it, just put somewhere that it was created by Penance RPG. But everyone's free to use it, and it's ridiculously good fun and very replayable.
Yeah.
I was about to smoothly transition to say, what do you guys want to plug just to finish this out? But yeah, that's a good place to start.
Can I have my Twitch stream?
Yes.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Go for it. I am Anjuli, Geek Girl Bookworm. You can find me on twitch.tv/Geek Girl Bookworm. Tomorrow is a Tuesday. I know this is not going to work, but I'm doing some stuff for some Kickstarter stuff for A Bad Squiddo Games tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. But you can find me always on there painting up Atlantis miniatures on a Sunday. And then I do a whole load of other stuff throughout the week. Come along and hang out with me and chat and talk nonsense. That's what we do.
Awesome.
Ask me questions.
Yeah, I mean, this will probably go up. This is going up on Thursday, so everybody go check out the VOD, I suppose.
It'll be on VOD. You can watch it. Don't worry.
Definitely, everyone should check that out. Ian, do you want to plug your podcast?
Yeah, sure. So we play a 5th edition D&D game, actual play called Dragon Wings. It's about a magical chicken. I don't think there's any need to go more into it than that. It's about a magical chicken. And we drop episodes every other Tuesday. Please come and watch. It is not watch, but listen. Watch with your ears. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Jordan, do you want to make a half-hearted attempt based on your earlier?
I was going to say, as we've discussed, the correct answer is no, I don't want to promote our podcast. But I probably should try. Hopefully, if this goes up by Thursday, I'll have managed to scrounge together enough time to finally finish putting together our season 1 finale. And it should be going up, hopefully, again, fingers crossed, it's 2 weeks late already, by Friday. At which point we will probably have a couple of weeks before we get into season 2, because we are trying to record a recap episode. So if you've not listened to Modified Role before, season 2 is probably a good chance to jump in, because we will be doing a recap. If you haven't listened to Modified Role and you want to jump in early, please don't.
Fair.
Awesome.
Oh dear.
And well, I guess Nikolai or Dragon, whoever wants to.
Do you want me to start and you can add bits that I've missed?
It depends. How long do we want this to be?
I'll do it quickly. At the minute, we are just doing our usual Plummet series. The next 2 weeks for us, we'll be releasing the Dragonmeet content we taped on over the weekend. This Sunday will be the one we tape Friday night. Next week, hopefully during the week, depending how bad the audio quality is, will be the 3 mini Hall's Chaos episodes we taped during the day on Saturday. And next Sunday will be the fever dream that was the Saturday night episode. Apart from that, we are remastering the original series whenever I get time to do it, so I will just upload them. You probably won't see immediately Sparks and Twirsons do it live, but you will notice in the title it will say PRPG Remastered when we finally get around to doing it. I am trying to get as many done as possible, as quickly as possible, so hopefully they will at least be the first 5-6 episodes done by the end of the year. Apart from that, we're just doing releases every Sunday, and there might be episodes on Wednesdays in future, if I get time, about all the nonsense stuff I've taped with Belry over the last 2 years that I've not got around to releasing because I want it out of my active folder. So you might get bonus Belry episodes.
Everybody loves bonus Belry.
So those are the special things that are coming up, but doesn't mention anything at all about what we actually do most of the time.
Okay, you can do what we actually do.
So we have a series called Plummet, which is a hack and slash kind of like OSR, but without the rules.
Yeah. What actually is OSR? I have no idea.
Old style role playing.
Oh. What is that?
Hex maps and all good things.
Oh, right, okay. I had no idea what that meant.
First edition.
Ah.
I didn't know what that meant.
Okay, anyway, we've got the OSR style. We have a couple of past series, which I'm going to be refreshing everyone on social media. We have a homebrew Call of Cthulhu version that is actually GM'd by Belry, and it is as weird as that makes it sound.
I can only imagine.
And we've currently got 2 completed D&D 5e module adventures, which have been translated into Penance homebrew style. And that is Curse of Strahd and Out of the Abyss.
And the poll for what the third one is going to be will be up in the next week at some point.
Cool. So yeah, I want to thank all of you for kind of joining me for this sort of completely unstructured random chat. That's awesome. So thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us. It's
been
nice to reminisce.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, that's it for the first group. I do just want to put out a little bit of a disclaimer before we jump into the second half of this episode. For this second group, I'm joined by Naomi from Power Word Roll and No More Damsels, and Richard from the D20 Future Show. The disclaimer I just want to put out is when Richard joins us, his audio is a little bit boomy. I didn't notice it until after the recording, and I've tried my best to kind of mitigate it a little bit. But just as a heads up ahead of time, it's still very much listenable, and we didn't want to lose any kind of conversation that we'd had. But yeah, just a heads up. So yeah, let's get into this second half of the episode. All right, okay, and I'm now also joined by Naomi from Power Word Roll and No More Damsels, who was also at the at Dragonmeet with us. How's it going? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm recovering from my Dragonmeet hangover, as it were.
Yeah.
Glad to finally be away from the hustle and bustle of Hammersmith, as it were.
It often takes me a couple of days to sort of decompress from the con. I mean, we're recording this Wednesday evening, so we're a couple of days removed at this point. So I feel like I'm mostly recovered, but yeah.
It's catching back up on the sleep, because ahead of time you're thinking, okay, I've got to prepare all the things, and then the night before you're like, oh, have I got that? Did I pack that? Where's that cable? And then the whole day following, you're just like, I need a nap.
Yeah. I mean, did you have to travel far to get to the con and things like that, or is it is that not too much of an issue?
Well, I'm in Lewisham, so it's kind of the other end of the town. But what we did is we actually stayed the night. So we had a hotel room, which was great for storing all the kit that we had to lug around with us all day, to try and offload slightly.
Yeah, I mean, this was my third year at the podcast. So was this your first year here? I think we spoke briefly actually on the day, but we didn't really get into that sort of part of things.
Yeah. So it's my first year in the podcast zone, but I think it's my second or third year at Dragonmeet. So last year I was GMing, and I think the first year I just went and I played and I didn't GM. And then this year it was podcast and panels.
Yeah. This was my third year there. I mean, the first year I hadn't really sort of planned it properly, and we travelled up from the south coast on the day and sort of lugging all this gear up, and then I think I spent most of the day complaining about being tired, which hasn't really changed on subsequent visits, but now I've just got less reason to be complaining.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, the hotel room, it's the good idea, that kind of thing.
So we did it last year. We finished at like midnight, and then it was like, oh, and now we have to go home. Oof. And just the entire train ride back was like, God, when will I just die? Because you're so tired. So we always go with all of the stuff that they're bringing by. So it's board games and books, and then we seem to come home with almost the same amount of board games and books. And you're lugging it through these empty stations at night, and you're like, this is the end of the world. I hate this. So this year we were like, let's pre-prep a little bit, and not have to go home.
Makes sense. So yeah, you mentioned briefly there you were sort of doing panels and podcast zone as well this year. I mean, I think you're the only person who's appeared on this episode who was actually involved on the panel side of things. So it'd be interesting to sort of see, your perspective on kind of how that was, because that's one of the things I've never really kind of been involved with on my Dragonmeet trips. It's always been pretty much I've pretty much just situated myself in the meet and greet area and been like, hey, take my flyers and things. How was that?
So No More Damsels, which I co-chair with the lovely Sarah Pipkin, we were asked to do a panel on representation in fantasy settings. So we had 4 panelists. So we had Neil from Rusty Quill. So he's the community manager there, and he was great. And we had Chris Hislop from Adventurers Wanted, who is lovely, who we've worked with before. And then we had Kate Madison, who is from, she made Ren the Girl with a Mark, which is an amazing Amazon TV show. So we had kind of a really sort of wide swathe of creators. And I felt like the panel itself went really well. Sarah, who was doing the moderating, came up with some just killer questions. I wish that we had more time for people to ask us their own questions, because we kind of got through the stuff that we'd prepared, and then we're like, oh, any questions? And 20 hands went up, and we were like, oh no, we only had time for one. But it was really fascinating. I thought some like kind of really good stuff came out of it. But it is kind of terrifying to sit on a table with 3 other people you really respect and be like, man, I hope I'm not the stupidest person on this panel.
Yeah.
Boy, I hope I say some good things. Because if you say something bad, like, it's being recorded, you've said it, and then it's out, and you have to figure out, make sure that you're trying to, like, make sure that you don't say something dumb or make a joke that's just bad, which is always my concern.
Yeah, I feel like that would be my kind of nightmare scenario, because when I get a little bit nervous, I start making dumb jokes.
Yeah. I think I talked about buff ladies for like 3 minutes.
And it's immortalized in the recording.
Yeah, I was trying to make the point that, like, because we're talking about representation, and No More Damsels is like a gender diversity charity in gaming spaces.
Yeah.
So I was trying to make the point that, most stories where you have a man, you could swap that with a buff lady. But then we were also talking about Wonder Woman, and I was like, man, the ladies in that were great, like hitting stuff. And everyone's like, you just really into buff ladies? And I was like, that wasn't the point that I was trying to make, but I feel like I've been caught in this sort of weird part now, and I just have to kind of like let it go. Kind
of no way to argue your way out of that point of that.
Yeah, it was kind of, I was like, I've maybe walked myself into a hole here.
Where's the panel? I mean, if our listeners want to go and find it, is it on another podcast feed, or is it available as a stream, or how is that? Yes. So I don't know if you know Fiona Howard from We're Podcast. What Am I Rolling? I haven't spoken to her. No. She's lovely. She's an absolute gem. I have never had a bad word to say about her, and she's also like a powerhouse of creating really great content. She runs a lot of one shots, and she's had us on her podcast, and now she's coming on our podcast. So she's kind of been a long-term friend of mine, and just kind of an all-round great human being. But she was unable to make the convention because her partner's American, so she had to go to America for Thanksgiving. Ah, right, yeah. So Powered Roll recorded it for then her to edit and release. So just because we wanted to really give the recording to somebody who was in the community making diverse content, and because our podcast is technically male-led, we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we gave this to a girl podcast? Yeah, totally. And when it came down to it, it was like, Fiona's just awesome, and she deserves it. And I felt also, because she hadn't had a chance to be at Dragonmeet and she was so desperate to be there, it was kind of a nice way to have her included as well. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a real shame she couldn't make it, like you say, on the day. It's there was a lot of talk with the other group of people who were on this episode about how Dragonmeet was quite really seemed to, as the podcast zone especially, seemed to sort of have quite a strong sense of community, especially this year, in terms of there was a lot of people doing things on other people's podcasts and things. And I think, that's what you've described there is like, it's another extension of the same thing of like, hey, we're all coming together to kind of like, this is our big meeting day. So even if somebody can't make it on the day, just the fact that, like you say, you're reaching out and saying, hey, this was part of it, come be part of it as well, I think that's kind of a reflection of Mira. So Mira Manga was running the podcast zone with Kat as well. But Mira is just such a kind and giving person, and that she creates this really positive experience. And she worked really hard. She's a perfectionist, God bless her, to just make it a really positive, like shared, enjoyable community. And I think that her and Kat are still kind of continuing to create that. So they asked everybody for podcast tips, and they're bringing out like a so you want to start a podcast cheat sheet, as it were, for new podcasts. And I think that they really create such a positive atmosphere. I think that was very evident. People were sharing kits and giving out each other's flyers. I saw lots of people, like I was sitting next to, I think it was someone from Darker Days Radio, and they were talking about flintlocks and fireballs. And so people were kind of promoting other people's podcasts, and it was very sweet, actually. I mean, we were kind of situated on the left-hand table. I think you guys were on the right-hand table, but I feel like we were all kind of doing our best to kind of pull members of the public over and kind of present the podcast zone kind of as a whole sort of thing of like, hey, this whole area is podcast, please check us all out, rather than I didn't ever really notice a sense of anybody going, hey, this is the podcast zone, but you really want to just check out mine, right?
Yeah. So we had Danger Club podcast come and do a game of Paranoia with us. And I met Dan Thompson from that podcast very early on at a networking event for tabletop people. And he said something to me that still stuck with me, which is, in this industry, there's no competition, there's only collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's kind of the thing about podcasting is you can only work together. You can't really compete without getting involved in everybody else's bits and pieces. And I think that's really stuck with me as a way of that is how it has to work. You have to get involved in everybody else's podcast. You have to be a champion for the people that you know and the people in the community. Otherwise, you won't be able to move anywhere, because there's only so many people that listen to D&D podcasts. But most of them listen to more than one. For
sure. I mean, that's definitely something. I mean, we've been going for, I think I lose track of it, about 2.5 years now, give or take. And I can't say that in that whole time we've ever felt like we're in competition with anyone else. And it's very much been a sort of, any time we've interacted with anyone else, be it at, the podcast at Dragonmeet or, online or wherever, it's never been this sort of thing of like, oh, these are the new people, or oh, this is who we've got, this is the one to beat or anything. It's always like, hey, we spoke to these cool people, they're doing this thing, we're going to do something together. Every single interaction's always been like an opportunity to collaborate, and that's just generally been the feeling, both ways in every interaction of like, hey, this is another person we can do, let's do better things together with, rather than oh god, we got to take them down sort of thing.
Yeah. I think there's also a lot that we can kind of learn from each other. I say that because we're still quite a young podcast, Power Draw. We've been going, we've been recording for like 1.5 years, but we've been putting content out for about just under a year now. So I think we're definitely still in that stage where we're really enjoying just learning from other podcasters.
For sure, yeah. I think actually, you mentioned the sort of tips for new podcasts. I believe, was it the Powered Roll account that's been sort of tweeting those out this afternoon?
So our DM, Conrad, is lovely, but he is also an anthropologist. So he is, as an academic, when we talked about this panel, we decided that we'd write down some notes ahead of time. And he just wrote pages and pages and pages. Because we learned so much in those, like, the early days of recording. And he's a big, he's used to come from radio. So he has big dreams for the audio. So we learned so much. So we had so much to say. And the panel is an hour. And there's 4 people on it. So that's 15 minutes talking time each. And let's be honest, there just wasn't enough time to get out all the things that we wanted to say. So we went and we slammed those down in some pithy tweets to just kind of give the people a taste of all the things that we had to say. So
yeah, I mean, 15 minutes each to talk goes very quickly.
It goes exceedingly quickly.
But yeah, once you start talking, it just, like, oh god, time's going. It's going. As far as sort of the tips for new podcasters, a lot of it's sort of stuff that I've, over the years kind of trial and error sort of found out. I think if we had like a list like that, as you say, you guys were tweeting them out, and Mira and Kat was sort of putting together a kind of list as a sheet, sort of, is it? Yeah, to put out as well. So I think
Mira and Kat are doing a sort of more complete version. So they've taken suggestions from everybody. These were just our thoughts.
That was an incredibly loud keyboard you got there, Richard.
Yes.
I was trying to find a subtle way of saying that I'd arrived. Yes,
I was going to bring you in.
I like that you're keeping to a theme and arriving halfway through, just like the panel. It's just
the thought had occurred to me, and the dying of embarrassment is certainly still an option.
It's all good. Listeners, we've just been joined/interrupted by Richard from the D20 Future Show. How are you doing?
So just so you know, we did the panel, and Richard managed to come in halfway through, rushing in, and then was like, "Hello. What's going on?" It was very enjoyable. It was a very good moment.
It was fantastic. I sat down and was immediately in the middle of a question about diversity and inclusion, which I hope I'm
which
not
was
currently...
not on the... Yeah.
Which was I didn't prepare for, and as a, cis, white, straight, posh English person whose podcast is a bunch of 4 white guys, I felt the least kind of qualified person in history to answer. So that was fun.
Yeah. We at Power Word Roll kind of had the same thing, because Conrad is also a posh cis white guy. And he was just like, I hope I did okay. And he came up and he was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think that's what we all said. So
yeah.
It was good, but it's a discussion worth having, and the truth is that people deserve to see themselves reflected in stories. That's just true, and it would be fantastic if more of that turned into podcasting. But
in fact, it would be great if there had been like a focused panel about that at Dragonmeet. That would have been ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just I shouldn't be invited to it. I think that's
Yeah, no, I'm being facetious, because we were running a representation in fantasy settings one on the day after you guys.
Right. Okay. I was rushing to another thing, because that is pretty... I was late for and then rushed to things all day. It was a crazy day.
You did seem to be, I think... I've got to say, I feel kind of bad, because I feel like I was busy, but I was almost the least busy out of a lot of people at the podcast zone. To the point where it's even pointed out on me. I think it might have been Kat, it might have been Mira, who sort of, the podcast zone, everybody seems like super like stressed and everything, but AJ, you're just like a moment of calm in the middle, and I'm just like, yeah, I've kind of got my seat. I've been situated here. It's fine. But
it sounds very Mira.
It sounds like everybody got up to more than I did, but I was super lucky to be able to play in your playtest game, Richard, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for getting involved. My brain has been whirring on it ever since. I started. I feel like if anybody's listening who isn't a member of the UK and Ireland Tabletop RPG Podcasts Discord channel, Jordan has asked us to plug it, so you should get on board it anyway. But I started quite an interesting discussion about why there aren't, or if there aren't, why no one has heard of, and why people don't play more RPGs with kind of legal settings. Why is there not Suits the role-playing game? It feels just such an obvious format for RPG storytelling. So my playtest was Kawaii Wolf Night Court, which is my first swing at a one-page RPG. And I think we had a pretty good time, but I think we came away realising there needed to be a bit more game in the game. Yeah,
I would say I had everybody involved had a good time, I think, which is the main point.
Yeah,
but in terms of a system, a bit tweaking. But as you said, this was your first shot at it, and we first play test and everything. I'm assuming so. It was sort of it was interesting to have a go.
No, the confidence of a man, you can tell I'm a straight white man from a posh school, because I had the confidence to go, I've written this will be fine, I'll run it at a convention. And it needs to work, and it was a really helpful session, because it really threw some of those into sharp relief, and some of the kind of clever things that I thought were brilliant just didn't really work. And I have, the next version will be much better.
Yeah, I look forward to playing it.
I was going to say, how was Annie? Because you had Annie from our podcast playing Jason Statham, I think.
Yeah, she was the first person to sign up for Jason Statham's Big Vacation, which I have said almost enough times to be able to say it without going, oh no, I'm going to make a mistake saying these words. I tell you what, saying the D20 Future Show plays Jason Statham's Big Vacation is taken me a lot of work to get to.
It's a bit of a tongue twister.
It really is. She was great. We had 2 lawyers in the role, because I'd miscounted the number of players that I'd invited. So that made for an interesting dynamic that isn't usually present in Jason Statham's. But it was, she seemed to have a good time. Everyone had a good time. I'm listening back to the recording. It's not perhaps as polished as I would love, but then again, the effect guys just lent me all their gear and let me get on with it. And it's for a con recording, it's better than if I just put my little interview mics in the middle of the table. So
fair enough.
I'm very happy with it. I think there's with a bit of massaging, it's going to sound pretty good. Certainly better than last year, where somebody, and one of those people was definitely me, didn't set up the microphones, so it just recorded out of the PC mic, which meant that it needed some serious massaging to be in any way listenable.
We had the computer run out of battery halfway through our recording.
No.
And we walked past the computer and we were like, wait, the computer's not on. And then it's like, okay, so we've had 9 people playing this game, and I don't know how much of it there is. And how far back are we going to have to go? And this whole system kind of relies on people being surprised.
Yeah.
But we only lost 4 minutes, and we was like, oh, okay.
That's not so bad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had that recording with our main podcast where you look up and you see a black screen and you think, oh no, how much have we lost? Because we've never the sort of podcast that would go back and re-record, and I think so far we've been pretty lucky, except for the time we lost an entire session that included a TPK. So that was an unsatisfying season that ended with it just going, oops, we had an unlistenable episode and then we had a lost episode and everybody died in that one. That was bad. But now we have superheroes, so the new campaign is better. I think it hasn't got giant robots in it, so it's
it's always a laughing problem.
It is. It was very exciting to run a campaign with giant walking robots in it, even if my players did.
I think we also have giant walking robots.
I mean, every campaign.
I was just thinking about it. Yeah. No, we Wizards gave us Eberron. To have a play with. So we did a one-shot, and in that there is the Warforged Titans, which are essentially just like big mech bots. And I have to say the setting is greatly improved by just the idea of like tens of people throwing themselves at the giant robot that just sort of splashes them aside.
Well, it's why Pacific Rim did so well.
Yeah.
That is our traditional Christmas movie in this house.
Oh, I love Pacific Rim. The sequel, not so much, but yeah.
It's a shame they didn't make any more.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love the sequel because it's got giant robots in it, and it was more Pacific Rim. But the first one is obviously better.
Yeah,
but yeah, I just I don't think it quite made the money that it needed to. But I watched it on the train on the way home because my wife was putting up the Christmas decorations, and that is what we do in this family.
That's a solid tradition right there.
It is.
We were talking about panels earlier, the representation in fantasy settings, but were you not also on the Do You Want to Start a Podcast panel?
I was only on the second half of the So You Want to Start a Podcast
That's
panel.
The one sorry, I'm my brain is not so good sometimes.
So that which Callum has already mixed down, edited and put out, which I'm in awe of because I have only just copied the files over from my iPad. So how he's done that, I do not know. So that was it was an interesting panel. I think really suffered from time pressure. I think we had a lot we wanted to get through, and then we got to the questions, and I felt like there were probably more questions in the room.
Yeah, I mean, Naomi, you were saying it's sort of 15 minutes each kind of thing, and a little bit of time pressure going on.
Pretty much. With just 4 people on a panel, and then there's so much involved in podcasting, from inception to production to editing to marketing, and then all the bits in between. And I think it's just a lot for people to cover in an hour.
Yeah, I was very aware that there were significantly more experienced audio and podcasters around me, which was interesting, as my imposter syndrome around role playing and cons flared up quite spectacularly. But that's all right. I guess I have had a revelation a while ago that if it isn't fun being part of the D20 Future Show, I should stop. And while it's fun, and while I'm able to do fun things with it, that's got to be enough.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of a good hard and fast sort of golden rule for podcasting anyway. If you sometimes, we all have sort of stressful days, but sometimes you just, got to kind of go, right, okay, let's get through this and carry on. But if in general it's a stressful experience, it's only yourself that you're sort of harming by carrying on, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am never going to make my money at podcasting. That's not going to happen. So the fame and the money
is anyone?
Well, I mean, there are people who do, but I'm never going to be one of them because I'm never going to quit my day job. That's just that isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Apart from anything else, although this last week notwithstanding, I actually like my day job a lot. And
in general, sort of how did you guys have any sort of highlights of the con? What was your kind of like, this is the best thing today kind of moment?
We were lucky enough to play a game of sexy battle wizards.
Ooh,
first thing, which was very good.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it was Grant Howard, and he was running.
Oh wow! So he author of the game running it for you.
Yeah, he tweeted that he was going to run, and we were like, there's probably lots of people who want to go to that thing. We'll just take a chance. And he was half an hour late and there was no one there. So he was like, well, y'all better sit down. So I played Hardgruber, the Inviolable. And I was more battle than wizard. And my best mate was a bear in a dress. So it was very good. It was very good.
That sounds incredibly Grant Howard.
It was incredibly Grant Howard. I laughed so hard that I had to go and get a paracetamol because I'd cramped my side. That's how I was just like, oh geez, I'm gonna die. This is so funny. I'm actually gonna die here at the stable.
That's how you can tell the game was good.
Yeah, so that was definitely a highlight for us.
Awesome.
We also ran Paranoia. So I was thinking I might have 10 players because we were joining up with Danger Pod, and they have 7 people. They sent 4, and then we have another 4. So I had 7 players and me, and we only have 3 mics. So what we did is we played Paranoia, and we just killed someone off every 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then had people swap in to clones.
That's a way to
So
go.
every time a new clone got in, someone else sat down at the table, and I made a weird pot of adjectives. So people would sit down at the table and then pick an adjective. It's like, oh, I'm Film Noir clone, or oh, I'm Grandma clone this time.
I like it.
It was very good. It was very enjoyable to play, and the Danger Club podcast was so funny.
What about you, Richard? What was your highlight of the con?
Other than arriving half an hour into the panel I was supposed to be, it was kind of all highlight. It was amazing. My abiding memory of Dragonmeet last year was there was lots of time to chat to people and record interviews and see what was on. This year, I got up, I had breakfast, I went to play Rhine, which is the game These Flimsy Rituals have been writing. Adam has been writing it, and we played this strange shamanic journey where I was a spirit that whenever he manifest smelled of cinnamon, and we had to find out what was wrong with the spirit who supplied the water to our village. And we kind of got hints at more of it, and we resolved where I got to just build a lovely cairn for the rest of my life with my favourite goat.
Oh, well, that sounds nice.
That's very lovely.
It was a sort of very different from the kind of excitement, explosion, action, adventure games that I usually run. So that was kind of different. And then Loke Battle Mats gave me a copy of their kind of prototype cyberpunk map book.
Oh yeah. I think you showed me that on the day.
Which I still can't really believe, but it's beautiful. It's short of a couple of the kind of finished art because they haven't quite finished. So I was shown that some of their other prototypes, and I have an interview where I gush about how beautiful they are, which I'm very confident will be just mostly me going, "It's so beautiful" over and over again. But that's I'm going to stop drawing maps because I think almost all of my map drawing requirements are complete now.
You've got every possibility covered. Yeah,
I've got roads, streets, a bar, a warehouse. There's a container yard, a racetrack. It's all kind of there. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very impressed with that. Jason Statham's Big Vacation with the Dragon Wings podcast and Annie from Powered Roll was great. I do always get the feeling that it's kind of getting away from me whenever I run that game because there's lots of rules and consequences, and they all seem to sort of stop happening as I spend more time worrying about which sort of owl impression I'm going to do next. But Jason has his will, and he demanded to see a petting zoo and an eel sanctuary. Yeah, we had an absolute blast. The Dragonmeet guys I've never met before. They appear to be a pretty new podcast, but they were a lot of fun. And then I kind of finished that, rounded up a couple of people to playtest my game, which seemed to go pretty well.
It did go pretty well.
Like I said, it needs more game in the game, but we learned that, and I took away some really useful stuff from that.
Yeah, and as I said, it was still fun. So a good foundation to build on, I think.
Absolutely, there's a fun core there. The idea that competitive role playing is a thing that's always a bit odd, but I feel like a courtroom, it's kind of there. But yeah, so I just got on a train and watched Pacific Rim and went home. It was a very weird, quick day.
Yeah. I think any kind of other final Dragonmeet thoughts to add, really, I'd say, sort of thing, just to sort of bring this short conversation to a close.
I want to do a live show next year. I think we should do a live show.
You're not the only one to have said that, and I think that seems to be like a lot of people, especially even ones like I say, this is my third year going, but I've spoken to a couple of people who've been on previous years and they hadn't at that point gone like, oh no, next year we need to do a live show. This year, quite a few people are going like, yeah, this is the next step. Let's do this sort of thing, and then
I think there's enough of us now, and I think that people are really enjoying the collaboration. And I think it's the point where it's like together we could make a live show. I
think we're all in a good place in sort of community-wise sort of thing for that would be, a bit more feasible to do, I think, than maybe on previous years. But yeah, I'm on board for that kind of thing. Even if I'm just sat there in the audience being like, all these people are way better than me, why am I here? Sort of thing, Which, I'm going to be doing in my brain anyway, but yeah.
I mean, that is what being part of the podcast zone is like, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not only a convention of podcasts, it's a convention of people suffering horribly from imposter syndrome. It's great.
It's just an imposter syndrome support group.
It's true.
We met our one super fan. So we have one person who tweets about us all the time. And they finally revealed themselves to us because they have a profile picture which is not a face, that is their own. And we were just like, hooray! And then they were like, make more episodes. When is the episode coming out? And you're just like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. We're going as fast as we can.
Just give us more time.
I guess my thoughts are just how weird it was to go from avatars on Discord to meeting these people and behaving like they're all my friends, and then leaving all within the space of a day. It was a very weird. I was immediately accepted in one of the group and then suddenly gone back to real life. It was a very strange day, but it was lovely.
Yeah, I feel that's definitely one of the cool things about the con is that I feel like a lot of us have kind of interacted online in one way or another, and there's always I feel like there's always like a 5-10 minute kind of thing of like, oh hey, you're that person, right? But then we all kind of I think by and large we all kind of are then just sort of like, and we're all here and we're hanging out for the day sort of thing, which is cool.
Yeah, so maybe next year 2 days,
maybe. Yeah,
I definitely remember thinking I will book an extra day, and then I didn't. I just booked down quite a late train on the Friday and came back on Saturday to be at church on Sunday morning, and thinking, should I have stayed another night? And probably, but
Yeah, I mean, I can recommend, like I say, that this year and last year I got a hotel room for the Friday and the Saturday night, and it just makes the whole thing so much easier. Okay, so I think just to kind of wrap up then, what would either of you like to plug?
So I'm Richard. I'm the host and GM of the D20 Future Show, which is an actual play podcast where we play the game D20 Future. Although right now the season going out is a D&D 5th ed adventure because we were not like all the other podcasts, so we thought we would be for a bit. We are a bi-weekly podcast when I can keep to the editing schedule, which I just about can most of the time. And occasionally we put out really cool interviews. Do find us on Twitter at D20 Future Show, on Facebook, also under the D20 Future Show, or on all good and evil podcasting platforms.
Awesome.
I'm Naomi, and I play on Power Word Roll podcast. It's D&D, but we cram it down into 30 minutes and make it more like a radio play. So it equals the same amount of time as your commute, and we take out all the boring guff, and we just keep the fun, action, pumpy, good stuff. I also am part of No More Damsels, which is a gender diversity charity that works in gaming spaces. So we want to bring more people to the table doing more cool stuff. You can find Power Word Roll at linktr.ee/powerwordroll. So that's linktree/powerwordroll. And we've got links to all the different places you can listen. And No More Damsels is at NMD London on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me for this short conversation. And I look forward to seeing you both next year, or back at Dragonmeet, maybe even before. It depends what we're all doing.
Hooray!
But thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks
for having me on.
No worries. All right then, so that's kind of it for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. I just had a ton of fun getting to speak to all these cool and talented people that I met on the weekend, and just kind of continuing the community spirit that we all kind of felt, I think. So yeah, as I say, hopefully it was enjoyable for the rest of you. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time on December the 19th for the next part of our Things from the Flood story. In the meantime, you can get in contact with us on Twitter and Facebook, both of which we are at Pretend with Dice, and you can email us at pretendingwithdice@outlook.com. If you're an Apple Podcast or an iTunes user, it'd be really great if you could leave us a rating and review. It all helps us to find new listeners, and we'd just love to hear what you all think of the podcast. So for now, that's our show. I'll see you all next time.